Hello there, my dear students. Today we're going to talk about values and place values of decimal numbers. But before we do that, we're going to have a quick review of whole numbers. Let's say we have 436. This number is a whole number simply because it has a place value of 4 here. This is your hundreds place value. Okay, over here you have your tens, and the last digit is what we call the ones place value. We're going to use these three words here, sort of pattern for the decimal values and place values. Okay, how do we do that? For example, if we have this 436, and this time we are going to put decimal values, just like this one. So 436, the decimal point here, and all the numbers here will be your decimal numbers. So let's say 129. Okay, so we're going to determine both the place value as well as the value for these blank ink digits. Let's start with the place value. The place value of the digit 1 here, just after the decimal point here. So this one here, we are talking about, has a place value of tens. As I said a while ago, this is the reason why I mentioned these three place values here. Okay? But you will notice, we do not consider ones because there's no such thing as ones place value for decimals. We start with tens. Now, the next number here, the digit 2, this 2 here does not just represents the number 2. It represents the place value of the hundreds. And finally, we have the digit 9 here, and this time, the place value of the 9 digit here is what we call the thousands. Thousands. Notice that each place value here ends with THS, THS, and THS. That represents these place values here are all decimals. Now let's go to the corresponding values. If we wish to write this one here as the value of the decimal, we can write this as 0.1. The one here represents that there is 1 over 10, if we're going to mention it or refer it to fraction. But since we are in decimal, we simply write here 0.1. The next digit will be 2, and we're going to write the value of the 2 here as 0.02. As you can see, the farther we go away from the decimal point, the number of zeros increases. And for the last digit, we have 9. We can write this as 0.009. So these are all the values of the digits 0.129. But if we're going to read the entire number, we can say this number is 436 and the decimal place is read as and 129. We're going to mention the last place value, thousands. So let me say it again, 436 and 129 thousands. We can say now that the tens, hundreds, and thousands digits, okay, increases the number of zeros as the digits goes farther and farther from the decimal point. Now notice also that these tens, hundreds, and thousands here is just the opposite of the whole numbers. We have tens, hundreds, and if we're going to put another digit here, it's going to be thousands. So it's not really that hard to determine the place values and the values of a certain decimal numbers. For as long as you can remember the sequence of the place values, then there's no problem in determining the place values and the values of a decimal. Remember, when we say place values, we are referring to the position of the digit of the decimal that we are talking about. So these are merely words or positions, whereas the values, all you can see are numbers that represents the value of the digits of the decimals. So that's all for today, and we're going to have more example of this in my next videos.